Good morning, Vikings. I hope everything is going well. This is going to be a pretty short stream. I just want to take a couple of minutes to talk about what we could do, especially with animation during this time. And I know it's a little bit awkward because we don't have ready access to Toon Boom, your computers. A lot of you may not even have computers that could handle some of the software, which is just fine because that is essentially a luxury that we have at school to be able to do that kind of work. But the key for all of it is still drawing. And that's what we should be doing every day. And I think over the next couple of days, I'm going to give kind of a theme of something to look for and draw for, or to draw, to give some sort of direction for what we could be doing. And we don't feel like we're just kind of like, sketching and doodling, but actually keeping up with our skills and still making progress with our drawing and the way that we're seeing different objects in the world and looking at movement. So I think today we're going to start out really simple. I'm going to try to demo something here that you can kind of watch and get some ideas from. But all my expectation is for you guys to draw every day. Simple paper and pencil. Paper, pencil, pen, whatever you can find. But just kind of, keeping in that process of, moving your arm, looking at form, and trying to represent that in an interesting way on your paper. And that's really all the goal is. So let me see. Let me make sure I kind of switch over here. And hopefully, if anybody is watching right now, you can kind of see my screen. I'm just going to open up a blank file in Photoshop and just kind of demo something. So the first thing that I like in terms of direction, so we're not just there's no form to what we're drawing, is take a look at objects around your house, interesting objects, and turn that object into a character. Give it some sort of life, give it a personality, and just do like a single page of drawing that one object in different positions as if it had a personality, as if it was a character that was alive. And I'll see if I can demo here an example of what I'm talking about. And I can also post a couple pictures on in Classroom to further demonstrate. And this is something really common in animation, and I'm sure a lot of you have already seen some sort of animation where something comes alive. So in my bedroom, I was looking at this one dresser. I thought it would be interesting to draw it as a character. So let's see if I could do this live right now. Otherwise, this will be a one-time thing, and it will end up being posted, but we'll see. All right, so, a basic dresser has kind of a box type form. Oh, this is really not calibrated well at all. Let's see if we can improve on this a little bit here. So I'm just trying to draw it as somewhat of a three-dimensional object right now. And I'm not animating. We're not worrying about animating right now, but we're looking at ways of suggesting movement in a still drawing is kind of really what we're doing here. So let's say I have this basic dresser, almost kind of like a nightstand that would sit, beside a table. And then most dressers have legs, especially if it's not sitting directly on the ground. And this is where some of the character can kind of come in, is messing with those legs. So I might need to find a different way of doing this because this tablet is not very well calibrated for drawing. But let's see if I can do it this way. By starting to change angles and even adding curves to something like this, once again, thinking about our different principles of animation with exaggeration, squash, and stretch. And as if it had different knobs here on the drawers. start getting like this illusion of movement. Maybe even give some weight to those legs. You start getting some character showing through. And you can even do this, give it a little bit more life by putting like another character in there. Maybe there's like a little jewelry box here or something. I don't have my documents set up correctly for this. I think I'll have to work on that for next time. Let's see. Either way, let's see if we can still do this now. All right. So we have our larger object here, almost looking down, appearing down. It may be something smaller. That's a little bit better. So then we have this juxtaposition of this larger character looking down at the smaller one. And think about how else can I change this form? So I have it leaning this way. Maybe I could twist it. Let's see if I could do this here. Maybe I'm like cowering back, as if it's frightened. And not every attempt at this is going to be perfect. The whole idea is to interject some sort of personality, as if this thing was alive. And this is a very, very common trope in animation. And there's even some animation tests for studios to see how you can do this. And as I'm drawing this, I could also think about, what films have done this that are really recognizable, like Beauty and the Beast. You could take a look at the different furniture within the castle that kind of comes alive. And it was such a huge component of that film, you could start to really see the importance of being able to do that in animation. And that's kind of the idea that we're kind of getting at here. Let me see if I could do one more example of maybe a different object before I kind of end the stream here. I don't really have a way right now of kind of like following up with everybody. What I think I might do is see if there's a way I could put a post in Classroom, and then if you could take a picture of maybe like a page of sketches that you did for the day, then we could just kind of like look and have a dialogue that way. And once again, it's not really about an official assignment. It's just making sure that we keep drawing every day and we don't lose that progress that we've made so far. And when I come across different ideas for things we might be able to do, I'll definitely let everybody know. All right, so let me take a look around my office that I'm in right now. I'm wondering what else I could kind of look at for inspiration. Or if anybody's listening in, maybe some ideas too. Let's see. No, I don't think anybody's listening right now. Yeah, that's fine. All right. So let's see what else we could kind of come up with and draw. How about a cup or a bottle? I'm looking at a small Gatorade bottle right now. It has kind of like an interesting shape. And another key component of this too is the idea is to use an object as is without really adding anything to it. So for instance, I'll show exactly what I mean by this. So I'll do kind of like a really rough drawing of like the top of this this bottle here. It's kind of like one of those small mini Gatorade bottles that I have sitting here on my desk. It has these interesting ridges at the top in the plastic, and then kind of flares out again. Kind of down like this, and then this kind of goes straight down. It's only part of the bottle that I'm kind of like showing here on the screen. And then here you have kind of like the top of the label. You start to have the lettering here, which I'm only going to roughly kind of like reference. I'm not going to draw any more of it. So I have this bottle here, and it's pretty lifeless as is. Now, the one thing that I'm not looking for is, you know, hey, let's add arms. You know, we're not looking for this and adding limbs to something that wouldn't normally have limbs. What we're looking at is taking a look at the object and the way it exists in its original form, and using that to help kind of define and refine the character. So instead, what we could have is taking a look at this form. You know, we have this top part, which really ends up being kind of like the head. So what we could start doing is we could start distorting that and changing it, and using that as almost like an articulated joint. So here, almost like the neck of the bottle, we could treat, you know, almost like the neck of a person, kind of like looking down. And here, we could start treating that almost like a waist. And I'm going to cheat here because I'm in Photoshop, and I'm going to change the shape like that. Now on a piece of paper, you would just make this a separate drawing, but also kind of think about it ahead of time of how would this thing, you know, how would this thing move? So now we have kind of this fold here, you know, kind of like paring down maybe on a smaller bottle. And all of a sudden you see this thing starts having a shape almost like a body. Let's see what else we could do. You do some all other like thumbnail sketches here of that shape, and kind of like further show what it is I'm talking about. And here's where you could kind of start distorting the form a little bit more. As long as it still kind of looks like a bottle, then that's kind of the point. Is you could bend and stretch things as long as it's still recognizable in the form that it's supposed to be. And then the more difficult one would be more like a, say like a twist. How would you twist a form like this? Maybe more like an S curve. And here's where you can exaggerate and kind of show almost maybe like a fear. Kind of messing up my sketch a little bit here. Maybe it's looking up at a 2-liter bottle or something. So just play, keep drawing, draw things in your environment, try to give things life. We're not able to do frame-by-frame animation. I mean, you could if you wanted to. If you had a light pad or access to a light pad, you could do a frame-by-frame animation with your own drawing. But just try to draw every day in your sketchbook. I'm going to post again tomorrow with a little bit more of probably a solid plan of just things to draw. And we're also going to start, I'm going to implement some more of the review of the principles of animation. Because out of everything, I think it's those 12 principles that we want to make sure that we kind of maintain and that are constantly on our mind as we're trying to go forward and still draw and keep up on our skills. So if you have any questions, you could email me. You could also reply to the post in Classroom. And I'll have more information for everybody tomorrow. Take care.